Imagine waking up every morning with a clear, focused mind, ready to tackle the challenges of the day with calm, composure, and purpose. What if you could take control of your thoughts, harness your inner strength, and set a powerful tone for the day ahead? In today's world, mental clarity is often the difference between success and overwhelm. And with the wisdom of Stoic philosophy, you can create a morning routine that not only sets you up for success, but empowers you to face life's obstacles with resilience and grace. In this speech, I'll show you how to build 6 powerful Stoic habits that will transform your mornings and sharpen your mind, helping you to start each day with clarity, confidence, and the mental focus you need to conquer whatever comes your way. Let's dive in. The first morning habit is to embrace stillness. Before the chaos of the day begins, before the demands of the world come crashing in, there is a moment, an opportunity to cultivate inner peace. This moment is sacred. It's a space where you decide how the day unfolds, where you claim authority over your thoughts before the outside world influences them. Most people wake up and immediately reach for their phones, flooding their minds with distractions, news, and messages, allowing external forces to dictate their emotions from the very start. But that's not the way to build mental clarity. That's not the way to command your own life. Instead, the first step is to begin the day in silence. Silence is more powerful than people realize. It's not just the absence of noise. It's the presence of something deeper, self-awareness, reflection, and control. The mind, like a pool of water, is often disturbed by unnecessary ripples. When you wake up and immediately engage with the world, those ripples turn into waves, making it nearly impossible to think clearly. But when you sit in stillness, even for just a few minutes, you allow the mind to settle. This is where clarity is born. This is where composure is cultivated. And this is where you begin to train yourself to respond to life rather than react to it. Think about how most people live. They wake up rushed, already feeling behind. Their mornings are filled with urgency, stress, and distractions. They start their day running toward obligations instead of grounding themselves in what truly matters. But a Stoic approach is different. It's about mastery over the self, and that mastery begins in the first moments of the morning. The goal is to pause before the noise begins, to sit in the quiet and observe your own thoughts, without judgment, without panic, without the need to immediately act. This practice alone builds resilience. It teaches the mind to endure discomfort without needing constant stimulation. It strengthens the ability to detach from fleeting emotions, helping to see things as they are, not as they appear in moments of haste. Stillness in the morning doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing something intentional. It can be as simple as sitting in a quiet room, closing your eyes and taking deep breaths. It can be standing by a window and watching the sunrise, feeling gratitude for the day ahead. It can be walking outside in the cool air without distractions, allowing your mind to wake up in its own time. What matters is that you create a barrier between yourself and the immediate pull of obligations. You are not a slave to notifications. You are not at the mercy of the world's demands. You own your mind. And therefore, people will challenge you, events will unfold beyond your control, but the first battle of the day is always with yourself, your impulses, your emotions, your ability to hold steady when everything else demands movement. This is why stillness is not just a habit but a form of strength. It's a discipline that teaches patience, self-awareness, and control over reactions. And it's in that control where power lies. A mind that starts the day in turmoil remains in turmoil. A mind that begins in silence carries that silence through the day, no matter what happens. This habit is not about avoiding reality, it's about preparing for it. The world is unpredictable and challenges will come. But if the first thing you do every morning is train your mind in stillness, then you develop an unshakable center. You become someone who can face difficulties without breaking, someone who can handle pressure without losing composure. This is what separates those who merely survive from those who thrive. And so, the first morning habit is to embrace the power of stillness. Before anything else, before the rush, before the distractions, take control of the first moments of your day. Guard your mind like a fortress, because the strength of the day is built in its foundation. What you do in those first minutes shapes everything that follows, and if you can master the first moment, you can master the rest. The second morning routine is to practice intentional reflection. Before diving into the tasks of the day, before allowing the noise of the world to take over, there must be a moment of deliberate thought, a conscious decision to set the tone for what lies ahead. Most people wake up and immediately let their emotions and circumstances dictate their mindset. They feel rushed, overwhelmed, and reactive. But a Stoic approach demands something different. It demands that we take charge of our minds first, that we choose our attitude before the world does it for us. Reflection is not just about thinking, it's about directing those thoughts with purpose. It's about pausing and asking the right questions. What kind of person do I want to be today? What challenges might arise and how will I respond to them? What do I have control over and what must I accept as it is? These are not just idle musings, these are the foundations of a resilient mindset. A mind that does not prepare itself is a mind that will be led by emotions, impulses, and external forces. But a mind that begins with reflection is a mind that remains firm no matter what the day brings. Most people go through life without ever questioning their direction. They wake up, follow routines out of habit, and react to circumstances as they come. They move, but they don't lead themselves. They live, but they don't decide how to live. This is why intentional reflection is so powerful. It forces us to pause, to think, to take control of our own narrative before the world does. It is in this moment that we remind ourselves of our values, that we set our priorities straight, that we decide what truly matters and what is simply noise. One way to practice this is through journaling. Not long, drawn-out essays, but a few lines, a few key thoughts that align the mind with purpose. Writing down what we aim to accomplish, not just in terms of work, but in terms of character, solidifies our intentions. How will I handle stress today? What distractions will I refuse to indulge in? Where will I focus my energy? Writing these thoughts down forces clarity. It eliminates ambiguity. It sets a firm course before the day even begins. But reflection can also be done in silence, through visualization. Before stepping out into the world, close your eyes for a moment and picture the day ahead, not just the good parts, the hard moments too, the obstacles, the frustrations, the unexpected setbacks. See them now before they happen. See yourself responding to them with strength, with patience, with wisdom. This is how a Stoic prepares, not by wishing for an easy day, but by training for the reality of life. A person who anticipates difficulties is never caught off guard. A person who visualizes their own strength in the face of adversity is already halfway to overcoming it. This is why reflection is not just a habit, it is a discipline of the mind. It is a daily exercise in preparation, in fortifying oneself before stepping into the battlefield of the day. It is about choosing to be steady before the storm arrives, about anchoring oneself before the waves rise. People who do not reflect remain trapped in cycles of reaction. They wonder why they feel lost, why they lack direction, why they are so easily thrown off course. But those who take just a few moments each morning to center themselves, to remind themselves of what truly matters, to prepare their minds for the trials ahead, they move through life with an unshakable presence. They are not slaves to circumstance. They do not crumble under pressure. They stand firm because they have already walked through the day in their minds before it even begins. This habit is simple, but it is not easy. It requires consistency. It requires commitment. But those who master it will find themselves equipped with a mindset that can withstand anything. And that is the difference between those who drift through life and those who lead it. So, the second morning habit is to reflect with intention, to prepare the mind before the day begins, to take control of your direction before the world does it for you. Because once you master your mindset, you master your day. And when you master your day, you master your life. The third morning routine is to embrace voluntary discomfort. In a world that constantly seeks comfort, ease, and convenience, it might sound strange to intentionally introduce discomfort into the start of your day, but this is where true strength is built. This is where resilience is forged. If the first challenge you face in a day is one that you have chosen for yourself, you become less vulnerable to the unexpected struggles life throws your way. Because here's the truth: comfort weakens the mind. The more we avoid difficulty, the softer we become, and a soft mind crumbles at the first sign of hardship. This is why the first battle of the day should be intentional. It could be something as simple as taking a cold shower. It shocks the body, it tests the will, and it reminds you that you are in control. The mind will resist. It will come up with excuses. It will beg you to stay in the warmth. But the moment you step forward despite that resistance, you are proving something powerful to yourself. You are proving that discomfort is not a barrier, it is a gateway to mental strength. And once you prove that to yourself first thing in the morning, you carry that proof with you throughout the day. But voluntary discomfort doesn't have to be just physical. It can be anything that challenges your natural tendency toward ease. Maybe it's waking up earlier than you feel like. Maybe it's fasting for a few extra hours to discipline the body. Maybe it's taking the harder path when an easier one is available. The point is to remind yourself daily that you are not a prisoner of your own comfort, that you have control over your choices, that you are capable of enduring difficulty without breaking. Most people spend their lives avoiding struggle. They avoid the cold, they avoid hunger, they avoid anything that feels uncomfortable, and in doing so, they weaken their own resilience. And then, when life inevitably presents them with difficulty, when they lose a job, when a relationship falls apart, when they face an unexpected obstacle, they crumble. They don't know how to handle discomfort because they have spent their entire lives running from it. But those who train themselves to embrace discomfort in small ways each morning, they develop the mindset of a warrior. They build an unshakable tolerance for hardship. They are not thrown off course by life's difficulties because they have already faced resistance and conquered it day after day. This is not about suffering for no reason. It's about preparation. It's about strengthening the mind before the battle begins. A soldier does not wait until war to learn how to fight. A leader does not wait until chaos to learn how to remain steady. And a strong person does not wait for adversity to test their ability to endure. They train, they prepare, they face discomfort willingly, so that when life presents them with real challenges, they do not fold under pressure. And here's what happens when you do this. Your relationship with discomfort changes. What once felt unbearable now feels manageable. What once made you hesitate now becomes second nature. You stop fearing struggle because you have proven to yourself every single morning that you can handle it. And when you no longer fear struggle, you become unstoppable. Think about the greatest minds, the strongest leaders, the people who have left their mark on the world. None of them were shaped by comfort. None of them built their strength through ease. They were tested. They were forged in difficulty. They faced hardship, and instead of running from it, they leaned into it. And it all starts with small decisions, with choosing to step into discomfort rather than away from it, with proving to yourself before the day even begins that you are in control, not your emotions, not your fears, not your desire for ease. So, the third morning routine is to introduce voluntary discomfort, to challenge yourself in small ways before the world challenges you in big ways, to train your mind, your body, and your willpower before life forces you to. Because the person who has already conquered themselves in the morning is the person who cannot be conquered by anything else. The fourth morning habit is practicing deep reflection and journaling. In a world that constantly demands our attention, it is easy to wake up and immediately be pulled into the chaos of the day. Emails, notifications, responsibilities, expectations. But a leader, a thinker, a person striving for mastery does not begin the day by reacting. They begin the day by reflecting, by looking inward before looking outward, by creating clarity before stepping into the world. Each morning, before the distractions begin, before the demands of others flood in, take a moment to sit with yourself and put your thoughts onto paper. Writing is not just an act of expression, it is an act of organization. It turns scattered emotions into clear insights. It transforms the overwhelming into the manageable. And most importantly, it allows you to step outside of your own mind and view your thoughts objectively. Many people wake up already feeling anxious. Their minds immediately fill with worries about the future, regrets about the past, frustrations about things they cannot control. But when you take the time to write, you take control of those thoughts instead of letting them take control of you. You create space between your emotions and your response, and in that space, wisdom is found. This is not about writing perfect words. It is not about being a poet, a philosopher, or an author. It is about clarity. It is about asking yourself, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling it? Is this thought useful? Is this problem truly mine to solve, or am I carrying burdens that do not belong to me? These are the questions that bring power. These are the questions that free the mind from unnecessary suffering. Journaling also serves another purpose. It holds you accountable. It forces you to see patterns in your behavior, in your thinking, in your choices. It allows you to track progress, to notice growth, to recognize where you keep stumbling and where you are getting stronger. Because without reflection, without documentation, time passes and nothing changes. Days blur together, mistakes repeat, but when you write, you give yourself a mirror. You give yourself a record of where you are, where you have been, and where you are going. Some of the greatest leaders in history kept journals, not for others to read, not for praise or recognition, but for themselves, to sharpen their thoughts, to strengthen their discipline, to ensure that their days were not wasted in mindless repetition. And if they, with all their wisdom, saw the value in this practice, how much more should we? It does not have to take long, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just enough time to slow down, to breathe, to think. Some mornings you may write a page, other mornings you may write a single sentence. It does not matter. What matters is that you take the time to check in with yourself before the day takes over. And as you write, as you reflect, ask yourself, what is within my control today? Because this is the heart of Stoic wisdom. Not dwelling on what cannot be changed, not wasting energy on things outside your power, but focusing on what you can do, on the choices you can make. Because when you begin your day with that mindset, with that clarity, you step into the world as a person of action, not reaction. As a person who is deliberate, not distracted. As a person who owns their mind instead of being owned by it. Most people wake up and immediately hand their attention over to the world. They check their phones, they scroll through negativity, they absorb stress before they even take their first real breath of the day. And then they wonder why they feel overwhelmed, why they feel lost, why they feel like life is running them instead of the way around. But those who take time for reflection in the morning, they move differently, they think differently, they make decisions with clarity instead of impulse. They are not easily shaken because they have already built their foundation before the day begins. The fifth morning routine is to move with purpose. The body and mind are not separate. They are deeply connected. How you treat one affects the other. A sluggish body leads to a sluggish mind. A restless body creates a restless mind. But a body that is energized, disciplined, and in motion sets the tone for a mind that is sharp, focused, and resilient. Movement is not just about health. It is about mastery. It is about waking up not just physically, but mentally. It is about reinforcing discipline first thing in the morning so that discipline carries over into the rest of the day. Most people treat movement as an afterthought. They sit for hours, they let their bodies weaken, and then they wonder why their minds feel heavy, why their energy is low, why their motivation fades so quickly. But movement is fuel. It clears the fog, sharpens the senses, and ignites momentum. Whether it is stretching, walking, strength training, or controlled breathing, the way you move in the morning dictates how you move through life. A body that is conditioned for effort does not shy away from challenge. A body that is trained in discipline does not surrender to laziness. The mind follows the body's lead. It does not have to be extreme. It does not have to be an hour in the gym or a long run in the cold. It can be as simple as standing up, stretching deeply, and taking a few minutes to engage in deliberate movement. It can be as simple as stepping outside and walking with awareness, feeling the ground beneath your feet, the air filling your lungs, the blood circulating through your system. The key is to engage with movement intentionally, not as something you rush through, but as something you master. Every time you push your body beyond what is comfortable, you train your mind to do the same. Every time you embrace controlled effort, you build the ability to endure discomfort in other areas of life, because life will test you. It will demand endurance, resilience, strength, and those qualities are not just mental, they are physical. The mind does not exist in isolation, it is housed in the body. And if the body is neglected, the mind suffers. Many people struggle with mental clarity because they neglect this truth. They try to think their way into focus without engaging their physical state. They expect motivation to arrive when they have not even prepared their body to generate energy. But the truth is, motion creates emotion. Movement sparks clarity. A body in motion sends signals to the mind: wake up, engage, be present. That's why the hardest part of any task is starting. Once movement begins, once the body is activated, the mind catches up. And movement is not just about energy, it is about presence. It is about grounding yourself in the moment. When you stretch with awareness, when you walk without distractions, when you lift with intention, you are training the mind to focus. You are building the ability to be fully engaged, fully aware, fully in control. This is not just about exercise. This is about sharpening the mind through disciplined physical action. Those who ignore movement in the morning often find themselves dragging through the day, relying on caffeine, struggling to stay present. But those who start the day by activating the body move differently. They carry themselves with a different energy, a different sense of control. They do not rely on external stimulants to wake them up. They have already sparked their own energy from within. When movement becomes a ritual, something shifts. Strength is no longer just physical, it becomes mental. Effort is no longer something to be avoided, it becomes something to be embraced. The mind and body start working together instead of against each other, and that creates an undeniable presence, a resilience that does not fade when the day becomes difficult. So, the fifth morning routine is to move with purpose. To start the day not in sluggishness, not in hesitation, but in controlled action. To use movement as a tool to sharpen the mind, energize the body, and set the tone for everything that follows. Because when you train yourself to move with strength and discipline first thing in the morning, you carry that strength and discipline into every part of your life. The sixth morning routine is to reflect in stillness. In a world that constantly demands movement, noise, and action, stillness is a weapon. It is not passivity, it is power. It is the ability to command the mind before the world does. It is the discipline to sit in silence and observe rather than react. Most people wake up and immediately throw themselves into chaos, checking messages, scrolling through distractions, reacting to whatever the world throws at them. But reflection in stillness is different. It is about creating space before the day takes over, about setting the tone instead of letting the world set it for you. This is the moment to ask yourself, who do I choose to be today? What do I need to focus on? What distractions do I need to eliminate? It is the moment to separate what truly matters from what is simply noise, because without clarity, you drift. Without direction, you react instead of act. Stillness gives you that clarity. It allows you to take control before the day starts controlling you. Some people fear stillness because it forces them to confront their own thoughts. It forces them to be alone with themselves without distraction, without avoidance. But that is exactly why it is necessary. The mind is like water. If it is constantly disturbed, it remains cloudy. But if you let it settle, it becomes clear. Stillness allows you to see yourself honestly, to see your weaknesses, your tendencies, your fears, but also your strengths, your values, your purpose. And in that clarity, you gain an edge, because when you understand yourself, you become unshakable. Stillness does not mean doing nothing. It is an active state of awareness. It is sitting with your thoughts and observing them without attachment. It is noticing the patterns of your mind and choosing which ones to feed and which ones to let go. Negative thoughts will come, doubts will surface, but in stillness you learn not to fight them or be consumed by them. You learn to simply let them pass. You realize that just because a thought appears, it does not mean it is true. Just because a fear arises, it does not mean it is real. This is how you develop control over your own mind, by learning to observe it rather than be controlled by it. There are many ways to practice this. Some do it through meditation, some through deep breathing, some through journaling. The method is not as important as the intention. The goal is to create space between stimulus and response. To build the habit of pausing before reacting. To cultivate the ability to sit in silence without the need for distraction. Because if you cannot sit in silence for even a few minutes without seeking an escape, what does that say about the state of your mind? A restless mind is an undisciplined mind, and an undisciplined mind is a weak one. Leaders, warriors, thinkers, those who master themselves, all have this in common. They do not allow their minds to be hijacked by noise. They do not wake up and immediately surrender their focus to distractions. They take control. They carve out time for stillness because they understand its power. They know that in a world of constant movement, those who can be still, who can think clearly, who can observe without reacting, gain an advantage. This is not about eliminating all thoughts or achieving some perfect state of peace. It is about training the mind to be still when needed, to be able to focus on what matters without being pulled in every direction, to be able to start the day not in chaos, but in control. That control carries over into everything, your decisions, your emotions, your reactions. It makes you less likely to be triggered by small problems, less likely to be controlled by fear, more capable of handling pressure with calmness and clarity. Imagine starting your day with this level of mental strength. Instead of waking up overwhelmed, you wake up with focus. Instead of reacting to the world's chaos, you create your own order. Instead of being consumed by distractions, you move with purpose. That is the power of stillness. That is why this practice is not optional for those who want to master themselves. It is essential. So the sixth morning routine is to reflect in stillness, to carve out time each morning to observe your mind, to set your focus, to establish clarity before the world tries to steal it from you. Because the person who begins the day with a calm and focused mind moves through life with unshakable strength.